Hello, my name is Roman,
My name is John.
and this is the Lost Chapters podcast, episode number 5. Back after fucking, I don't know how long. YouTube says March 6th, so literally a week before the nation went into lockdown. So, sorry for, not recording shit in that time, but you kind of know what happened. I think everybody kind of went into lockdown for a little bit. Some more strict than others. Myself, very strict.
Do what I want.
Yeah, you do what you want. We both had COVID, so there you go. Very mild symptoms for me.
When I say stupid shit like I do what I want, I'm not making light of the whole COVID outbreak. I did get sick. I did get my mother sick. I took it very seriously. I didn't let anybody come over while I was sick, and I'm very safe at work. But also, I do what I want. I'm at risk at work all the time, so I'll still go out and play games because I'm already out there doing stuff. So that is one thing I want to mention before we move on to the rest of the podcast. Is we're gonna make jokes that some people don't like. They're not pre-written. Nothing about it is pre-written. It's just they might just pop out. So try not to take offense to anything, and try not to be a pussy.
As I was saying that, I was looking at my Discord, because I changed the viewing too late, so it's now full screen, so you can't see what Discords I'm a part of, and none of them are that bad except for one that's that's a nasties, or what we call nasties, so it has porn stuff on there. So I rarely even look at that one. I forget that I'm a part of it. So there you go. If you saw that, there you go.
So they can see my whole screen?
No. They're specifically mine, because I'm recording the thing.
So they can't see my dicks.
No, not at all. Your dicks are safe.
Okay.
But my mammaries were almost on full display. Ew. You're gross. Get that through your head. Alright, so since John kind of told you what it is, I hate that, by the way, we're on a Discord server for that our friend made, AJ. AJ, if you watch, thank you for making Discord. It actually, when you do see this, you'll see it says, just tell the homies you love them. That's the voice chat. And then you can actually see our screen names. John's, as you can see right here, is I Kill Giants. Of course, a great comic if you have not read it. I haven't watched the movie, so I can't say anything.
Not bad.
It seems bad. Anyways.
It's not bad. Might be a little biased because it has Zoe Saldana, but it's not bad.
Fair enough. I didn't think it had Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, she's the therapist.
Fair enough.
Or the guidance counselor.
Yeah, and then you'll see mine is Lord Roman, which I don't agree with, but it's what AJ put, and I really can't change it. So, yeah.
Sucker.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm just Lord Roman. I really don't feel comfortable with it. But, so since John kind of explained what was going on in those time, might as well explain mine. Right as literally, I think the last episode we recorded, I was in the transition from my old job to my new job, which my new job, I'm an apprentice electrician. So I'm learning the trade, and it's construction, so it's not necessarily the safest, you know what I mean? In terms of, nobody wears a fucking mask or anything. I actually have, if you could see, my mask tan, where I actually wear a mask every day. So yeah, I started that. I was quickly like, all right, I gotta keep my family safe. I gotta keep my parents, which are older, and then like my nieces. One of my nieces in particular has a lot of kind of allergy problems, things like that. So she's kind of high risk, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna chill. I'm not really gonna go anywhere that I don't need to go. So I literally just started painting stuff, and it wasn't pretty much on the day of kind of lockdowns, but I did start doing a thing that I was hoping people would latch onto, and they have latched onto, starting the new year, new me kind of thing, the hobby resolutions.
It only took 200 days.
Yeah, I'm like currently at 230 something days, which I haven't actually painted. So after this, I'm gonna paint. It's just 30 minutes of any kind of thing to do with the hobby. Like anything, assembly, painting, stripping models, anything like that. Cleaning up your desk. You can see like my desk is a little bit dirty. It has a bunch of paints and stuff because I'm painting stuff for people. But in that time, I've actually did a couple of commissions as well. Finished off one of the really big ones. Finished off a few for some friends. So I was really happy that I was able to do that. When I looked back at the year through Instagram, I had completed something like 3 different armies for people and 1 full army for myself. Now, if you remember, in this podcast, I was talking about fantasy and how much I loved it, blah, blah, blah. Well, at that point, I really started chugging away at it, and I painted up a full 2K list, which is a good starter for fantasy. I think, thank you. I think most games are in like the 2,400 to 25 to like 3,000 point games that people play. So like 2,000 is a good starter. It's gonna take us, it's already gonna take us like 5 hours to play a game because we don't know what we're doing. And I actually have a model right here. This is the what is this? The Manticore?
Chimera.
No, the Chimera is the 3-headed. So it's a Manticore. The rider is somewhere else. I'm painting up the other one. It was the sorcerer that I painted up, and this is the Lord. I haven't really see him right there. I haven't really finished him, but he's there. But yeah, I painted a whole bunch in this time. I haven't played a single game, but I have gotten into other games. Thanks to one of our friends, Mike Blanton. Shout out to you, Mike Blanton. He's gotten everybody into Kings of War Vanguard, which is kind of like Kings of War is another square-based kind of a game, but Vanguard is the skirmish version. So I kind of liken it to Wartime, but it's a more simplified Wartime with a few different things to it. Like they'll do like D8, they'll involve D8s instead of just straight D6s, kind of things like that. But it is pretty cool. I picked Empire of Dust for that, and I'm, in the middle of reading the Armada rulebook, which Armada is Kings of War's ship battle game, which I always loved Dreadfleet. I always wanted to play it. Then I researched it, and they basically just did one box game of Dreadfleet, and they discontinued it because it was it just didn't sell well. People didn't like it. But apparently there was a previous version called Man of War. Again, like I haven't been in the hobby too much, so I don't know everything about the GW specifically. But Armada is a Mantic game. It looks pretty cool. I want to actually play a game. That's what I've been trying to do, is trying to put money aside to build a table out back so that I can get some terrain and some mats, kind of things like that, and play a game out back, hopefully with a few drinks and maybe some food, hopefully like a barbecue.
I like food.
Who doesn't? That's the one thing you didn't miss on the podcast, is us drinking water all the time. But if you are watching this, thank you for watching this on youtube.com/grimworks. But if you want to listen to it, we're on SoundCloud, um, Apple, maybe some other places. I know like Podbean rips from Apple, so it could be there too. I'm gonna double check on a whole bunch of things for you Android users. But in any case, now that we've gotten kind of what we've done, and of course why we've been away for 10 months, we want to get into some other things. So John, do you want to take the first step?
Well, like I said, I have been getting out and playing some games. Not a lot, not as many as I would like. But I did help David Villarreal with the San Antonio shootout, which was fun, but there was it ended up being kind of a Facebook fiasco where people from Austin were calling us baby killers, and saying we're being irresponsible for basically helping spread COVID.
Okay,
Because we were out playing games when we should have been on lockdown, or quarantine, whatever. And but I mean, other than the drama that was coming from Austin, it was actually a very good time all around. Very good, fun 2 days. And very recently, I got to play a game of 9th edition, or 9th Age.
Yeah,
which is the fan-made 9th edition to Warhammer Fantasy. After Warhammer Fantasy breaks apart and becomes Age of Sigmar, a lot of the original fandom was like, nah, we're not going to round bases, we don't like your new rules, go fuck yourself. We're gonna make our own shit. And I didn't mind playing 9th Age. It wasn't bad necessarily, but you could tell how it was very tournament oriented, which is something that I don't particularly care about when playing these types of games, these long 3-hour games. I'm not just trying to win. I'm trying to genuinely have a good time. One of the things that turned me off from 8th edition so much, but my opponent, whose name I couldn't tell you. If there was a gun to my head right now, I couldn't fucking tell you his name. But he was Polish. Very cool, fucking, like, rough around the edges. You could tell he was born and raised very close to Russia. So me and him got along really well. But he was telling me about this tournament, not even just a regular game, like a tournament, like an actual prize, money tournament that he went to with his lizardmen for 8th edition. And on his first turn, on his first game, he went and into the magic phase, and he miscast so bad that he caused a fear test on his own unit. And so this was like his big unit, right? Like it had 2 characters, one of which was the sorcerer. His warlord was there, and it was like his fucking sword and board, like, this unit is gonna survive unit. And so he caused a fear test. They ended up running. They ran into another unit, which caused that unit to take a fear test, and both units ended up running off the table because it was turn 1, so he hadn't made it that far into the board, and that cost him the game. And he did that all before his opponent even did anything. He was the first person in turn 1 to go. And that's as funny and amazing as that is to see. Like, that's what I love about gaming. Like, those are epic moments. Yeah, it happened to you and that sucked, but fuck, that's great. So I can understand why in a tournament, that would be a terrible thing to happen. But if it's just me and you, or me and a couple other people, like, that's what I want to happen. That kind of freaking silliness is what I want to see. And 9th Age is just geared so that kind of stuff doesn't happen. Like the magic phase, which was the make it or break it phase of Fantasy 8th edition. It's dumbed down so that nothing like that could really ever happen again. You don't get as many dice in the magic phase. It doesn't go off as big as it's supposed to. And the whole game is just, it's made so that everything kind of like makes it into combat, and there is a lot of back and forth, which is great, but you can tell there's like a lot of redundancies so that shit doesn't go wrong. So like you have all of your army is going to make it into combat, and that's where everything's going to start dying. Whereas in fantasy, which is more story driven, more fluff driven, you know, you're going to have the misfires. You're going to have fear tests happen more often. Spells are going to go awry. Shit's going to blow up in your face, and that's what tells the story. That's what makes it fun. While I didn't mind Ninth Age, I definitely don't want to go looking for those games.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's when I think of like Ninth Age, it's not something that I'm super interested in, just because it seems like it doesn't have the fluff that I like, because that's what keeps me playing these games more than anything. Like, it's the reason why I continue to play different things like Heresy, you know, like the Horus Heresy. Like, there's a reason why I keep playing that, or the things that I keep doing with Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which, you know, it's a dead game. Like, there's nothing that's being produced for it, but it's a game that I like just because, first of all, it was a game I always wanted to play. I just didn't have the money for it at the time. And the same thing with, you know, anything else. The fluff keeps coming back. Like, I have lists for the Warriors of Chaos, where Sigvald is leading it. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of what is it? Like him with some Chosen, which are going to be like his mirror guard. So I'm already looking at like the new stuff that was announced for Age of Sigmar, the Hedonites of Slaanesh kind of thing, or whatever the human thing is. I'm going to go ahead and get some of those and like kit bash, because I have been having some fun with that. I'll explain that later. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to have, you know, a Chaos War Shrine that's going to be in the middle. Sigvald's going to be leading them. As much as I hate fucking Marauders, I just don't like the models. I think they're shit models. I'm probably going to use them, you know, because that's what Sigvald did. He just had like his own cult and just fucking, you know, sent them in, and he was just like, my mirror guard's going to guard me. I don't give a fuck about any of you people. Like, it was great. And that's what keeps me going back. It's just like that kind of, that fluff keeps me coming back. And with Ninth Age, I'm sure there's some fluff, and it's like starting to get built up, but it's nowhere near what I like about, you know, fantasy battles. And the same thing with Mantic, like with Kings of War, the Kings of War, the Vanguard stuff. Some of the models do look cool, but I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. Like, I don't know the lore of it. Like, Panathor is the world that it's on. Like, I don't know much about it. I'm gonna have to like look at the rule book and do all that kind of stuff to look at it. But yeah, Ninth Age just doesn't interest me. I mean, the whole competitive thing, that's what kind of, I mean, me and John have been saying it forever, it seems like now. We're just not really interested in 40k at the moment. We're not really interested in Age of Sigmar at the moment. Just because it's more competitive based, and we understand that it's a good thing, you know, for the community in general. You know, when something's competitive, that means that more people are gonna go into it. They're gonna, you know, do certain things. The bad thing about it is you're gonna see a lot of the same list every time, and that kind of sucks. But that's just the nature of the beast. But beauty thing about it, I don't give a fuck. I can play whatever games I want. Like, you don't have to limit yourself to what people are playing because it's popular. Like, how many people are playing? You know, I know that you played a game of Marvel Crisis Protocol, and you know, it looks like a fun game. Like, it looks awesome, but how many people are really playing it? I have no idea. It doesn't look like too many, at least in our community. But when it comes to 40k, I did read the 9th edition rules, at least the core rules for like for the base game. The only thing that interests me about 40k, and it's because of Will. Shout out to Will Lanson. Is that his name? Is that his last name? I can never remember.
That's his last name.
All right, Lanson. Thanks to Will. Fucking, he got me kind of excited about Crusade. I want to try out the 40k Crusade, which is like a narrative campaign style. He told me that you can turn people into dreadnoughts if they survive, and I'm like, great. I'm gonna go on eBay. I'm gonna get as many Dark Angel, fucking Chaplain dreadnoughts, and everybody's just gonna become a dreadnought. That's it. I've already decided what's gonna happen in my campaign games. It doesn't matter. You're not gonna change it. Take a drink here.
You can also put Firstborn Marines through the Primaris, whatever you call it, the Primaris process.
Mm-hmm.
So that, like, at the beginning of the campaign, if you paid for a regular Marine, but through gaining victory points or whatever you call them, you're able to upgrade them to a Primaris. So like that was points wise or power level wise, it's a free upgrade, but you did have to earn it through the battles. Yeah,
and that's the cool thing about just Crusade. It seems like just fucking bring whatever you want, and it looks like in terms of like I play Dark Angels for fucking everything. So Dark Angels in 40k were limited to like what they could take for their chapter. Like they couldn't take a lot of the Marine options because they weren't part of the Codex Astartes kind of thing in the fluff. So that's what limited some of their options. Now it looks like they've kind of let the floodgates open. You can kind of take whatever the fuck you want. Doesn't matter. And one of my favorite models was the what are they called? The
Chonky Boy.
The Chonky Boys, the fucking
Centurions.
The Centurions in 40k. I love those models. Just they look so fucking ridiculous, and I always wanted to play them. So now in Crusade, I'll just fucking buy a box and I'll paint them up, as Dark Angels. I have no problems with that now. My problems with it is just like I don't want to play the same list that everybody's playing because it's boring. Like I don't want to take scouts because they're the fucking cheapest option, or now intercessors. Like I don't want to take intercessors just to take intercessors because I need chaff. I kind of want to take stuff that looks cool, and like I like the Firstborn Marines. I like that they can take different like weapon options, and that they can be a little more versatile. So I like that about them. So now that it's been now I don't know if it's gonna stay that way. That's the thing. The Dark Angels supplement is gonna be coming out, which it seems like they're gonna stay that way just for the fact that they are now in the Space Marines. Like you have to have the Space Marines Codex and then the supplement. So it looks like that'll be that. I'm not excited about spending $80 on books, but I've spent way more on books anyway, so it doesn't really matter. On the Dark Angels book, no less.
The Imperians themselves are about $80.
I forgot about that. Well, maybe they suck in 9th edition and I can get them on a cheap. But yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of like I know you played more games than me. I haven't played anything.
One thing I do want to mention that really hurt my soul is the change coming to Disgustingly Resilient for 9th edition Death Guard. So pretty much since the day I started playing 40k, Death Guard Plague Marines have been able to take a Feel No Pain roll, which is after you fail your armor save or your invulnerable save, before you take the wound, you take your Feel No Pain roll because you're zombie flesh inside of armor. So just because the bullet pierced your armor doesn't mean you fucking cared because you're already half dead anyways. So now, once the codex comes out, they've already leaked that Disgustingly Resilient's no longer going to be a after the save roll to save a wound. Now it's you automatically reduce the wounds taken by 1 to a minimum of 1. So if a supercharged plasma hits you, it's normally 2 damage. It'll knock it down to 1. But if regular bolters, which are 1 damage, are shooting at you, you're just gonna have to take that because those are already 1 damage, and you can't be reduced to less than 1 damage. Now I've had some people telling me that the new rule, or the new version of the rule, is actually stronger than the rule the way it was before. If you're doing, your math. But like I said, I'm not a tournament player. I don't care about stronger. What I care about is the fluff. And Feel No Pain has been a part of Death Guard fluff for as long as I've known. That's you knew that if you were taking Death Guard, you were gonna get that Feel No Pain roll. And the fact that it's changing to something else doesn't sit right with me. Whether it's stronger or weaker as a rule, I don't really care about. It's just it takes away from the fluff of the army. So that's the only thing I really have to add about 9th edition.
No, I have no real opinion on it because I don't care about Death Guard. I think Nurgle's terrible. He's my
You're
third.
terrible.
He's my third favorite god. I mean, fucking, it's always Slaanesh. It's always gonna be Slaanesh. Ain't nothing gonna change about that. Tzeentch is second just because I don't like Nurgle as much, and Khorne, fuck Khorne. I don't like Khorne. I don't care what anybody says. I don't like it. I think it's stupid.
You.
Whatever. Although, like, I hate that fucking Khorne has, like, the most models. And some of them do look cool. Like, I was gawking at the fucking Bloodthirster and being like, it looks fucking cool. I think I'm gonna have to get one whenever I build fucking Khorne for fantasy. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to get one. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's just the way it is. It's just the way, 40K, the way 40K is going. They're trying to streamline it as best they can without minimizing, like, time. You know what I mean? They're trying to minimize the amount of time it takes to play a game. It's evident, they changed the board size. You know what I mean? Which apparently 6x4 was never, like, stated in the rules that it had to be played on a 6x4. It was just kind of like, oh, it's what everybody kind of had, and it was just agreed upon, like, through the fan base. So now they have, like, actual dimensions for the boards and the sizes of the games now, which is fine. I don't really care. I'm gonna still play on a 6x4 just because I fucking have a 6x4. I'm not gonna get a new mat just to play, a new game. It's not gonna happen. But
that's just more, like making the board smaller and all the new objective-based rules, trying to get the game over as quickly as possible. That's more of the whole geared towards the tournament play because you are timed in the tournament.
Yeah.
When I play 40K, 30K, fantasy, Sigmar, whatever, like I know I'm gonna spend 3 hours or more at the table. I have beer with me, I have food with me, I have fucking, friends whose company I enjoy. I'm ready to spend those hours playing that game. If I want something that's gonna be over in an hour, I'll play fucking Magic or something if I'm that strapped for time. Or like, oh, okay, guys, this has to be quick. I gotta go to work in a little bit. We'll just fucking take out the Magic cards. If I'm gonna play Warhammer of any type like that, I've devoted that chunk of the day to that. I don't care about getting it over in an hour and a half.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, that's why a lot of skirmish games, I don't play like a lot of skirmish games. Like Warcry doesn't necessarily interest me all that much. Necromunda's a different beast because it looks just like super rules crunchy, and I think that's what I really enjoy, like that rules crunch. Like, throw me as many things as you can, before the game starts, and then I'll learn the game and I can make that game quicker if I choose to. But I mean, I for some reason, more simplified doesn't equal better to me. It just makes it more simplified, which is fine. But yeah, like a lot of skirmish games I'm not too into. I like, spending the time to bring out like a massive force and like put it out on the table, see how it looks out there, and like have someone else have their force, and like we're just gonna do whatever we're gonna do, like however the game shakes out is however your game shakes out. Now, of course, there's a part of me that always wants to win, but I've kind of accepted I'm never gonna win a game of anything I play. I don't put enough time into the like learning the strategy behind the game. I'm so much more like the hobby, like the hobby side of it, the painting side. I mean, if I can turn my camera over, which I'm not, but if I could, you'd see like a rack of paints, and that's not even like all the paints I have. I have to like buy like 2 more racks to get all my paints in. So like I'm very much into colors and like experimenting with shit. I was just like trying to experiment with painting black, because of course I'm gonna play Dark Angels and Heresy. Like, it's not even a fucking question. I'm gonna do it. So they're black armor in there, so I have to figure out how to paint black armor. I'm kind of figuring out what I want to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Old Faithful Vallejo model color black. And I know that a lot of people can use like you can use almost any color to like change the tone of a black, but since most blacks are actually blue, like a ridiculously dark blue, you can add in more blue and it could be fine. I love these colors. These they're the Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl. They are, I think, 18 ml bottles, so they're pretty big for the amount that you pay. So I'll probably do like a 50-50 mix of this turquoise and this black, because of course I fucking love turquoise. It's one of my favorite colors. And I'll probably just put in some white to kind of desaturate for a highlight, and then I'll glaze over it with some black, and boom. I think I have to test it out to make sure it's kind of the way I think it's going to look in my head, but yeah, I'm going to just have to test it out, see what happens.
I just paint out of a GW pot, and not very well, and not very often.
Nothing wrong with that. I've been finding out contrast paints are really good for different things. One of my favorite, and are we done with before we get into the hobby talk or fucking eye shine? Are you done with like your games played and like what you want to say with that?
Yeah.
All right, so good thing to do is have a little moleskin. I don't know if you can see it with the light.
Cannot see that at all.
It doesn't matter. I'll fucking tell y'all. What some of my favorite things, favorite metals ever, are some from Vallejo. They're actually alcohol based. I believe they're called hold on, let me look it up. Beauty about having an actual computer and recording this over a computer. I can look this up. So these are the ones that I use now, which are the Vallejo metal color airbrush colors. So they come in pots like this, like little droppers like this. This gold is cool. The only thing is it's like a green gold, so I kind of hate it. I don't like that it's not the general gold that you see. I like more of like the regular golds that you see. Liquid Gold. Liquid Gold is the brand that is really, really cool, but it's alcohol based, so it's really, really finicky on how you have to use it. Like, you can't use a sable brush because it's going to ruin your sable brush, so you have to find a synthetic, which is fine. You can find like cheap synthetics from like Hobby Lobby, like let's see, like these, like, these kind of brushes that you see at anywhere, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, anywhere. These are synthetic brushes, or a majority of them are. So with the alcohol based, you actually have to thin it with alcohol. You can't use like an acrylic thinner, like anything like that. Like you can't even use water because it fucks up like the alcohol in there. It separates the pigments. So you have to use alcohol. It's best to use like 99 point, like the 99% isopropyl alcohol. Like it's the strongest, because it's going to keep it more workable. My problem with it is I'm a fucking slow painter. I take my time with it, so when it comes to that, I have to that is my enemy when it comes to it. Like, time is my enemy. Alcohol base doesn't really do that. So what I started doing is I started messing around with these metals right here, which are some of the best metals I've ever used. Like, they're acrylic, so you can use them with acrylic thinners, anything like that. They're awesome. Go ahead and get them wherever you can. It is the, like I said, the Model Color Airbrush. So the gold is really good, but it, like I said, it's a green gold. So I started messing around with contrast paints, because they're a little bit more like, they're super pigmented, and they're not going to dull the shine of it, of that metal flake too much. So I started messing around with it, and I found some good ones for like the red gold, old gold, and rich gold, which are like the 3 colors that I used to use with that liquid range. So I'm glad that I was just fucking around with them and kind of seeing like what I could do with them, and I came out with some good recipes. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll put it in the description of the video or whatever, or in the comments or whatever. But yeah, like, these are the things that I did with my time, you know, in during the lockdown and all that kind of stuff. Is I just fucked around with paints and figured out, like, I like this, I don't like that, you know, all these different things. One of my favorite models that I painted was one that I had wanted to paint forever, this Azrael. Like, I finally painted it up to like a standard that I really, really, really enjoy. Yeah, I don't think anybody can really see it. Maybe if I put some more light on it. I don't know.
You have to put the light like from the front.
Yeah, but you can see a little bit of that. Like, it took me, that was like a passion project. I slaved over that one because I loved it so much. I loved that model so much. That was the model in, you know, when we first started Warhammer. It's it's the only, he's not even an HQ in 7th edition, 6th and 7th edition. He's not a HQ. He's a fucking Lord of War. That's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one regular Space Marine is so badass, he has to be in your fucking Lord of War choice. Like, that's it.
That's the little helmet bearer, right?
Yeah, which I have right here. So, see him right there. With his lion helm. And this is like where I started using a whole bunch of different colors. Like, I wasn't just using like the GW color, like standard colors that I would use. I was mixing a whole bunch of different shit so I can get like, I was just fucking around with it and loved what I got out of it. So that's why I say, like, have, you know, a little notepad or whatever to write down some of your recipes. Like, if you like the way your blue's coming out on something, fucking write it down so that you don't fucking forget it. So you're like, hey, I need to paint another unit of this for this army that I like. So go ahead and write it down. I wrote down glazes, because the old GW glazes, which I finally have a Lamentus Yellow. I'm sad that I had to pay $20 literally for a label. I didn't even use the actual thing. I made these because there is another member of Red Star, Aaron Kelman, I believe is his last name. Yeah, he showed me a video of some guy that made the old discontinued GW glazes, and it's literally with some Vallejo game air inks or game inks and some distilled water, like, you know, because distilled water doesn't have any mineral deposits or anything in it, so it's just a clean fluid, and you make like the glaze, an easy glaze. So, and yeah, that's this is where I'd say like I take the majority of it, is because I like the painting aspect of it. I like doing things, and I'm trying to see what I can do about doing quicker paint jobs, like without investing so much time. You know what I mean? I love the armies that I'm gonna love, and I'm gonna put the time in. But if I can shave off, a few minutes by doing something else, it's gonna, save me hours in the long run. If I painted a whole army, I'm gonna take that. You know what I mean? Like, I just assembled a full 2K Lizardman for Warhammer Fantasy. So it is it's something like 80 something, like small kind of core kind of units. It's a lot of fucking shit that I have to paint. And if I can find a way to do that as quickly as possible, I'm gonna do it. So like with contrast, it's awesome. Like I painted up like my Tomb Kings. Slip of the tongue.
You wish.
Yeah, I wish. Empire of Dusk for Mantic. I painted up some of that stuff, and I literally just did a Zenithal undershading, and this is just like a few metals and some contrast paint. Like, that's all it is. Like, contrast paint is good. Is it the kind of one coat kind of does it all magic? It can be if like you don't it can be for the right application, I should say. Like for John's zombies, I was just showing him like, hey, I painted up a few zombies for him. I'm gonna have to paint up more, of course, but just with some contrast paints on the Wraithbone the rattle can that GW has, like it's fairly good for something that's like, I don't know, you're gonna see 80 of them on a board at one time. You're just gonna be like, you're not gonna be paying attention until like, oh, look at the fucking shading on this zombie. It's just, why are you gonna waste your time? You're gonna see 80 of them on a tray. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for you to waste that much time. But when it comes to like his big pieces, when he gets like, I don't know, like the Wraith King, or like big pieces like the Corpse Cart, or like the Black Coach, or things like that. Like, that's things that you want to take your time on. Like the infantry has to be there. Like, you have to paint your infantry. It's a slog. Trust me, I painted fucking 40 Warriors of Chaos. Like, I painted 40 of them, and the shields were like a reverse gradient than them, so I had to like do like double the work. It was a bitch. It came out cool, but if there was a way that I could simplify that, I would be a whole lot happier. But when it comes to like, that's the thing, when it comes to Warhammer Fantasy, like, it's a labor of love. Like, it's like the one game where I'm like, you know what, all of my armies I'm gonna put to a pretty good standard. Are they gonna win are they gonna win like best painted? Fucking no, because there's way better painters. But it's gonna be something I'm gonna be proud of to like field when I put it out there, and when I get destroyed, I'm gonna be happy that they look good.
And so like I know you're 40 Chaos Warriors. What are the minimum units of 10 for minimum, or units of 5?
Minimums of 10, I think. Mm-hmm.
Minimums of 10. And how many points is that?
Ooh, I'd have to get my
just odd, like rough.
I'd say it is maybe like 110 points, maybe
110 points. So just so that our listeners can know the difference, for me, 20 zombies is 60 points.
Ugh.
So so if I'm playing against Roman and he has 40 Chaos Warriors, I might have 200 zombies if I was only playing zombies, and that would be like the same amount of points. So definitely finding ways to do quicker batch paints, and contrast has helped a lot. Just for getting like that amount of zombies out into the field. It's ridiculous how much vampire counts can have on the field compared to other armies.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous army, and that's the thing is that's why I told you I was like I have to cap it at 2K. Like I'll paint you a 2K list. It's gonna be contrast, but I have to cap it at 2K. There's no way I'm going to paint like a 4,000 point army because that's what you can actually play in fucking VC. There's just no way. Oh, and I was undercosted by my estimate. It's 140 points for 10 Chaos Warriors. Yeah, like, and again, knowing this about Warhammer Fantasy, this is why Warhammer Fantasy kind of had to die at a certain point. 140 points for 10 dudes. When a standard game is 2K, that's a fuck. Like, you have to paint how many of these guys? And it says in your rules 25%. So 500 points of core units, like that has to be in the army. Like there's no two ways about it. It's an illegal army if it doesn't have that. So the fact for me to do that, like it's 350 for a 20 man. You know what I mean? That's 350. That's not enough for just one. Like of my 20 man bricks. Like what the fuck? Like this is one of the reasons why Warhammer Fantasy like crumbled, is because of that. You know what I mean? It's a high barrier to entry. You have to have how many models to fucking play this game, and then a lot of the models are old. Like let's just face it. You know what I mean? And they have to be that way because they're regimented. You know, they're back to back, so they're monoposed no matter what you do. So like people just weren't as interested in Warhammer Fantasy. So I get it. I get why it died. But for me, I love that shit. I don't know why. The fucking nerd in me is like, that's the way that you fucking do battle. Fucking in big blocks where you can't really move. And fucking if somebody fucking dies in front of you, you have to roll over their body and fucking stab someone else. That's just the way it is. So we're about 47 minutes in to this episode, and we haven't even talked about what we really wanted to talk about. So, how do you want to go from here, John?
So, I guess we'll just go ahead and explain. One of the things we wanted to talk about is explain what 30K is. You've heard us talk about it a few times already in this episode. So I guess we'll just we'll go over that, some of the differences between 30K and 40K, and then we'll pick it up on episode 6. What's the next episode? 6?
Episode 6 would be the next one.
Yeah, episode 6 will be more 30K oriented, but for now we'll just go ahead and tell you what is 30K.
So you want to take it, or do you want me to take it?
No, go ahead and start it off.
Alright, so 30K, as it's known just in the community, it's actually called the Horus Heresy. It's the precursor to 40K. And the thing is that it is a more expensive game because it's put out through Forge World, and Forge World is kind of like the sister GW company that is more specialized. And
that bro.
Yeah, exactly. It's a step bro fucking GW. So I had to explain a few things. It's taking place around the Horus Heresy. If you don't know what that is, I suggest that you go ahead and read those books, starting with Horus Rising. Even if you read Horus Rising, it should give you a good idea of what the 30K is really about. If you have Audible, go ahead and listen to it on Audible. That's how I listen to fucking 52 books. There's no way I'm going to read 52 books. I'm a shit reader. I have dyslexia. I'm surprised I play war games. So, when it comes...
Hearing that number, I know it can be daunting, but you don't have to read all 52
books. Fuck
I'm sure
no.
It's something that, yeah.
No, fuck no.
Like, I'm still like on book 11, maybe, and it's been several years since I started reading them, but those first 3 books... are just amazing must-reads, even if you have no interest if you're not interested at all in playing 30K, you should still read those first 3 books. They're just amazing. And even like when I'm talking to people who don't even play 40K or have no interest in tabletop gaming, sometimes I'll still recommend them the Horus Heresy, just because even outside of the game, it's still a damn good book.
Yeah, for sure. And 30K is just basically like the 20. It'll be explained why there's not 20 legions, sort of. But basically, half of the legions go bad, or fall to chaos. Go bad. It's oversimplification. They fall to chaos in like different.
You mean
ways.
they see the truth and become the good guys?
I think they all suck, except for Emperor's Children. They're pretty boss. But basically, half of the legions turn traitor to the Imperium and want to basically kill the Emperor and see Horus, who is one of the Primarchs, on the throne. Whether that happens, I don't know. I mean, if you know 40K, you know fuck, it doesn't happen. But in order to kind of give you an overview of the Horus Heresy game, it actually started in 6th edition. It was just they had they call them black books, but they're the Horus Heresy campaign books by Forge World. You can get a number of them, I think, through softback now, so they're a little bit easier to come by. They're a lot cheaper. What if you have hardcovers like me and you're a fan of hardcovers? You're kind of shit out of luck. You're gonna have to pay an exorbitant amount of money for some of these books, if people are even selling them. But the first campaign book was actually with 6th edition, and it was still using 6th edition rules as kind of a base. Even into, 7th edition wasn't too much different from 6th. It was just a few minor differences, like including like the psychic phase and things like that. So if you are not familiar with older editions of 40K and you're interested in Horus Heresy, go ahead and check out some bat reps. It is using an older edition of 40K, so if you could find, or if you just happen to have access to a 7th edition rulebook, go ahead. Like Half Price Books usually has them. Like they'll usually just have random ass rulebooks, so you can find one there if you don't want to spend money on this rulebook right here, which this is the Age of Darkness rulebook. This is the actual Horus Heresy rulebook. Now again, a lot of it is just a reprint of 7th edition, except for missions. Missions are specialized in here. There's really only 6 of them. But if you have a 7th edition rulebook, you can use those missions, especially if you want to like do funky shit with the Maelstrom missions, where you can use like objective cards and things like that. They're totally valid. A lot of them have kind of the same rules. They just won't have the same fluff. That's about it. But you can still use them. The Age of Darkness tells you everything that you really need to know in terms of actual gameplay. It tells you your allies, your force org chart. So your force organization chart, who you can ally with, who you really wouldn't ally with, kind of things like that. It'll give you basic things like your detachments, like the detachment that really the only kind of, in quotes, legal detachment you can use is called a crusade list, which just basically true troops choice in the HQ, and then you can add from there. But there is, again, like, Heresy does deal not with competitive, it deals with more narrative stuff. So if you want to, recreate a battle from one of the books, or you just have an idea of like these 2 legions fighting, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can even use, they give you different detachments that you can use in this book right here. It's just whether or not your opponent could agree upon, like your opponent agrees, like, yeah, you can use that. Which, what asshole's going to tell you, like, no, you can't use that? It's somebody you don't want to play with, right? And the Heresy community, is a majority of older gamers, so they're pretty much cool with a lot of shit. So if you do want to buy that book, I think it's like $55 on Forge World. Let me double check that real quick, since I have Forge World on fucking speed dial right here. And look at the books. Where are the books? The Age of Darkness book. It's weird. It's $62 if you want the physical. If you do want the enhanced digital edition, it's $50. So if you just have an iPad and you just want to download the rule book there, $50 if you want to do that. Now, I am going to say there are some places, if you look hard enough, where you can find these rule books online. You just find them as free PDFs. You can just download them onto your phone or whatever. You can read the rule books that way. But if you want to actually buy them, I'm a sucker for physical media, if anything. So, of course, I want the books. I bought the books. One of the things that you will need if you are a Legion Astartes player, you will need the Legiones Astartes Age of Darkness Army list. This basically tells you all kind of the base things that were available in the first, I think, 5 books. Now, these are the red books. There is a problem with these. Some of them have been a lot of the what are they called in here? Are they still data sheets? Are they called data sheets? I don't even know what they're called.
I think it's data sheets.
The data sheets, just for lack of a better word, because I don't remember if it's called anything else. They have been updated through different things, through FAQs that you can find online, all that kind of stuff. So some of it can be outdated, and some of the prices, the points costs can be outdated. We're hoping that there is an actual update to these books, because they only have about half of what you can actually take. And that leads me into the next book, which is this one, which is the Age of Darkness Legions. Now, this one only comes with, let me read off the back here, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, Imperial Fists, Night Lords, Iron Hands, World Eaters, Ultramarines, Death Guard, Sons of Horus, Word Bearers, Salamanders, Alpha Legion, and Raven Guard. So it doesn't have everybody. Some of the things that you'll notice is like Blood Angels. Blood Angels have rules and those campaign books that we were talking about earlier. There is other things if you don't want to play, if you necessarily don't want to play any legions, there is different things that you can play. I think a big misconception with Heresy is that it's just Marines on Marines. Like, there's no variety. There is, it's just whether or not you'd want to try it. So when it comes to other armies, there is Mechanicum. And Mechanicum is kind of split up. There's like the General Force Mechanicum. You can also do Knights lists, because any Knights, even the 40k Knights, are just called Questoris Knights in Horus Heresy. So they're there. You can go ahead and use that.
The technology for making Knights has actually been lost thousands of years ago from the 40k perspective. So any knight that exists in 40k existed in 30k, because they just don't know how to make them anymore.
Yeah. So you can, if you do have a knights list, you can pretty much run it in Horus Heresy. You just would need the book, which there is a book, an army list book for Mechanicum as well, and that's where you'd find the knights as well as the titans. But if you don't want that, you can also play Armies of the Imperium. So you can play the Imperialist, Militia, and Cults, which there's different ones. Maybe you want to take that one since you know that one better, John.
So for that one, Militia and Cults, it's basically just humans before the Astra Militarum kind of formed, and everybody had their own I don't know, you wouldn't call them legions. What would they be? regiments, I
Mhm.
guess. So before the Catachan were Catachan, before Cadia was Cadia, they were all just kind of a mismatch. We're just trying to survive this thing
Mhm.
type of army. So it's basically going to be all your humans, and you can use so many different things to play as your army. If you wanted to just buy your army from a normal store that sells Warhammer stuff, you could just make it a bunch of Cadians.
Mhm.
Um, for my army, I use Catachan, but I've seen like third party armies that look really cool. There's one, they're guardsmen, but they're Scottish, so like they're all wearing kilts, but they still all have like flak armor and they have las guns. They're wearing kilts. So yeah, pretty cool looking thing. The cult side of it is for um, maybe not necessarily, although it is including humans that worship chaos, but just humans that dabble in the warp and using psychic powers. Humans that do worship chaos, just kind of like your non uh, mm, Emperor's Light seeing uh, type of humans.
Mhm.
And a lot of the things that you are used to in 40K are usable in this army. So if you already have a guardsman army, you should have already more than enough to play that army in 30K. There's going to be a lot of Leman Russes and Bane Blades and just a lot of infantry. So uh, pretty much the one thing I don't agree with, and I think actually Mournival events, which is something we'll touch on later, actually fixed, is that if you're playing a loyalist militia, you don't actually use psychers because too close to chaos.
Mhm.
But I think Mournival events kind of opened up the good guy militias with psychers.
Yeah, yeah. We'll touch on multiple events kind of stuff in a little bit. But there also is Custodes, which there is specific Custodes units that are from Forge World that you're gonna want to take because a lot of them look fucking cool. But if you have like your normal Custodes dudes, you can use them. The good thing about it is effectively from 40K to Horus Heresy, your base dudes, you pretty much doubled. In Heresy, they're in groups of 3. Now, you can expand it, of course, to larger unit sizes, but the standard unit size is 3 because they're so fucking powerful that, you only need 3 in there. So if you have that, you have a good basis for Heresy. You might just want to add a few more toys from there. And most likely, if you do have a Custodes, you've already mixed in those Forge World toys, so you pretty much have a Heresy army. You're good. Sisters of Silence is another thing. Now, Sisters of Silence is a bit weird because there's not many. There's not really much for them. And they're more of like rolled into Talons of the Emperor, which is a mix of them and Custodes. So you can mix them.
It's a pretty good kind of team. Custodes are the hammer and anvil, and the Sisters of Silence will shut down psychers because your armor is going to stop swords, your armor is going to stop bullets, your armor is going to stop rockets. The only thing you did probably have to worry about was psychic powers, but you take a couple of sisters and now you don't have to worry about that anymore either. So it is worth it, in my opinion, to kind of mix and match.
Yeah. And then one of my absolute favorite Imperial armies is the Solar Auxilia. That line of models is just so fucking cool. I love Solar Auxilia. Reading the 9th campaign book, which is called Crusade, which has the Dark Angels rules, which that is the Legion I'm gonna primarily play from now on. They went to Thramas, which is like one of the sectors where they had to fight Night Lords, and there I figured out that they had a Solar Auxilia militia there, and I was like, fuck, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna. That's like the next thing I'm gonna do. Like once I build that, the Dark Angel side, I probably will supplement it with like a Solo Auxilia allied detachment. After that, I did say I need an actual traitor legion, which I do have. Technically, I have Sons of Horus. I just play them as loyalists because they're in their Luna Wolves colors, not the Sons of Horus characters. So I technically have a traitor force, but I don't play them as that. I want a true Traitor's Force, which is Emperor's Children, and yeah, I'm gonna fucking just make sure I add some demons in there. Now, speaking of demons, there's actually Armies of the War Master, which is other things that the Traitor Force can use, and with the addition of, I believe it's Campaign Book 8 Malevolence, they brought in Demons of the Ruined Storm rules. So what this allows you to do is bring whatever models that you want from your demon, the demons that you have for 40k or for Age of Sigmar, anything like that. You can use them in Horus Heresy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They're going to have different names. The gods aren't going to necessarily be spelled out, because in this time in the Horus Heresy, it wasn't known. Their names weren't too well known, only to like the word bearers, and I believe by the end, Death Guard knew who Nurgle was, but a widespread knowledge of the four Chaos Gods, no one really knows. So they don't know the names. They just have different things but you can use mono list. You can make mono god list if you want, or you can just go ahead and use like mixed chaos, like Chaos Undivided kind of stuff.
I've always been a fan of Chaos Undivided. Like Nurgle is my favorite god. I can actually, I was showing Roman earlier, I can change the colors of my background here, and you know, I went with green because I fucking love Nurgle so much. But when it comes to playing on the battlefield, especially like the bigger the army gets, I really love playing Chaos Undivided. And Demons of the Ruined Storm really lets you I don't know what word I'm looking for. Customize, really lets you hyper customize each unit.
Yeah.
So that you can, like what god this unit represents just by its rules. So like you can give a unit that you want to be Khorne, you can give it Rending, which is a close combat power. Or if you have a unit that you want to dedicate to Tzeentch, you can give it, you can actually give it the Psychic keyword and make the unit a level 1 Psyker. So you can, and then if if you're that type of person and you want to rape somebody, you can just put all the best abilities into one unit, because you can pay for different abilities depending on the unit. So like even your core, your lesser demons can take like 3 abilities. So you could make them a level 1 Psyker and give them Psychic Screech, which is a really powerful Primaris power for telepathy. And then you could give them Rending so that they are AP2 in close combat. And then on top of that, you can give them, Hardened Armor, so that they actually have an armor save instead of just their invulnerable save. And just like make your whole army like that if you want it to be that kind of powerhouse player. So they're just super customizable, very fun to play with in 30k.
And that's the thing, is like you can add all those different things to your specific demons. The cool thing about it is their guidelines for demons. They even say that in the designer notes for that, you can go ahead and use GW models, any of them that you want. Just go ahead and just make sure that you don't change them during the middle of the game, basically. But I've seen a lot of people use like for the lower caste demons. I don't know exactly what they're called, like the troop choice based demon.
The lesser.
The lesser demons. For lesser demons, I've seen people use the Sylvaneth, like the tree people, and they just like swap the heads with like demon faces, or like I've seen some use the Daughters of Cain. They have like those like what are they? The Gorgon masks, like the golden ones. Like once you paint them up like a flesh color, they just look like weird demon faces. So like people have been doing things like that. I know people use miniatures from Mercer Miniatures. I know people use like Creature Caster for like the big stuff, especially like the brutes and stuff like that. But yeah, like you can. It's at this point it's model agnostic. They would of course love you to use GW stuff, and if you play in a GW store, you have to use GW shit. But if you're playing anywhere else, or if you're playing with your friends, fucking use the models you want. Any of them to look cool. I have some Creature Caster stuffs that's going to be for my Slanesh, and it's going to be for they're going to be like my brutes, the kind of like the elite choice for demons. That's what they're going to be. That's just what they're going to be. So I haven't figured out whether or not I'm going to just use like regular demonettes for my lesser demons, or if I'm going to use something else. But like that's what I'm going to do. Once I make my Emperor's Children, it's going to be half Emperor's Children and half demons. It's going to like represent like how far they fell when they got to Terra. When they got to Terra, like fucking everything went fucking ape shit. They just started. If you're not reading the Siege of Terra books, I believe the series is called Siege of Terra. It's like the culmination of everything that happened in the Horus Heresy, and then the Siege of Terra is the actual siege that Horus plans to overthrow the Emperor. So by the time they get to Terra, they're already all fucked up. Like every one of the Emperor's children, like Lucius has died and come back. And like Eidolon, something happens with him. Like there's a whole bunch of shit that happens with these characters in the Emperor's Children that they've fallen so fucking hard. And I kind of want to have like the Shining, like because they have the character models for like Eidolon. I love that model, but I kind of want to see what I can do with a Kit Bash and like make him like the broken, fucked up version of him. That you see later on in the Heresy. I would love to do that. So since I'm getting more into kit bashing and like I want to try to stretch that muscle in the hobby, that's really where I'm going to like stretch it for sure. And so yeah, those are the different armies that you can use in the Heresy. Now there are fan-made stuff that we told you about. Now the Mournival events is from an Australian group called OS30K. You can look them up on Facebook, though I think they did recently change their name. They changed their event name. They had a certain event name. They ran it for 5 years, and the guy that was running it said, like, you know what, it's run its course. I want to give myself a break. We're ending that event series, and we're going to start a new one. But they have a fan-made Mournival events book, which adds in like specialty fan-made units, and like one of the ones that they do, or they'll fix units. Like they have destroyers, so they have regular destroyers on there. They're just the Mournival events versions, and honestly, they function a little better than the actual Forge World ones. They also have like heavy destroyers, which are fucking insanely cool. And that's the whole thing, is like it's the rule of cool. Like that's the overarching rule for Horus Heresy, is it the rule of cool. You can be a dick and you can make, your whack list, you can overpower, you can have your overpowered list, you can run your knights list and like run your Atropos, which are broken in Titanicus and broken in fucking Heresy. Like that, you can do that if you wanted to. I don't know how many friends you're gonna make, and I don't know how many games you're gonna play, because people want to have fun. They just want to take the shit they want to take. You know what I mean? So Mournival Events caters to that. They have a lot of cool rules. I wish that I had a copy of it. Hopefully I'll get one soon. But once we do, I'm sure me and John will break down that book, because we absolutely have. You can actually get. You don't have to pay for the book. Actually, if you go to OS30K, you can most likely download it. So they have Google files that you can download. But like I said, I'm a whore for physical media. I want the actual book. I want you to see it. But the good thing about it is that they've done also other books, which I can show you if you give me 1 minute. John, take over while I get those books on my shelf.
Now, some of you may be wondering, why play 30K? We've already explained how it could be a little bit more expensive than 40K because it is resin based. It does come from Forward World instead of GW. So it seems like maybe it doesn't seem yet like something that you would be interested in. But if you are somebody who just wants to have a good time, you're there more for the experience than to win. There are a lot of differences, a lot of key differences in 30K because it is still using a rule set that was from 6th edition going to 7th edition. That makes the game more story driven, more fluff driven. For example, in 30K we still use these templates here. So this would be like a hand grenade being thrown. This would be like a rocket being shot from a tank or the top of a knight. This is your flame template coming out from a flamethrower. So what happens is, like let's say you have your Lehman Russ. In the current edition of 40K, you roll a d6, that's how many shots you get to take, and then you have to roll to hit, then you have to roll to wound, then your opponent rolls his save. Whereas in 30K, you'll get one of these big templates here, which will cover a good amount of marine heads, right? And you'll just try to put it
probably around like 5 or 6 Marines can fit in there if they're not properly, kind of spaced out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you'll put this over a Marine's head, and then that's where your rocket's gonna hit if you're lucky. So you actually have this right here. This is a scatter die. So that arrow indicates what direction the template's actually gonna move in after you shoot. There is direct hit, which means you don't have to worry. Your rocket's hitting right where you wanted it to, your missile. But if it does roll onto an arrow, you might have to move a couple inches away, which means maybe you'll hit nothing. Maybe the template fell between 2 different units and didn't hit anybody, or maybe you hit a different unit altogether, or maybe you still hit the unit that you wanted to, but you also end up clipping another unit. Or maybe if you're not lucky, the template might actually fall back onto your own army, and that just shows like the kind of shit that could actually happen on a battlefield. You're not guaranteed to hit your opponent with something at that range, something at that velocity, with an explosion that big in real life. So why should you have that guarantee in a game that's made to mimic that sort of battlefield? And that's just one of the many reasons why 30K is more fluff and story driven than 40K. There's a lot of other things that go into it, which we'll explain more as these episodes progress. So Roman, you stepped away to find what?
Yeah, like the OS30K guys, like I said, they make the Mournival events book, and once we have that, we'll cover it. But I actually have two fan-made, I guess, Xenos races that you can use in 30K. Now, not all Xenos races are in the Horus Heresy. Like Tau really are such a new race within the 40K timeline that they just don't show up in Horus Heresy. There's no mention of them. But doesn't mean that you can't use those models for different things, and I'll explain once we get to that. But you can see the Great Crusade. These are just, they call them the green books. This is the Austriani army lists. This is your Eldar. So this is just regular Eldar, not your Dark Eldar or anything like that. This is just the Austrianis. This is just a regular your base Eldar. The thing is, this is probably the first Xenos army that I'll probably make for Heresy. Just because I've always kind of liked the look of Eldar. I just don't know if I want to play them in 40k. I think in 40k there's some problems that I don't like with them specifically, and I think within this rule book, and especially before this, and it's still, you can still use it. If you have your 7th edition codex for Eldar, you still can use that. There's really nothing in terms of things that you can't use. It's just, well, there's a couple of things that you can't use. Now, off the top of my head, I can't remember right away, but there are some things that maybe you shouldn't use. There's some things that don't function the same within Heresy. But you can definitely use the 7th edition codex if you wanted to. But if you wanted to, go ahead and go to OS30K. You can also find them on Facebook. You can download these for free. It's a Google Drive. It's updated once they do final cuts for these things. It's updated once they do a final cut. They'll do an actual print run of physical books. So I love me my physical books. If you are interested, let me know and I'll get you in contact with how you can get one of these. But if you're a new Necrons player for 9th edition, you can go ahead and get this one. It's the Necron Army List. It's the same thing. It is a little bit smaller than even the Austriani book because there's not a ton here because there wasn't much known about Necrons at that point. They didn't stumble upon many Necron tomb worlds, so there's not really a ton of ones that they have. But they do have some stuff here. More than welcome to use the new models that you have. I'm pretty sure you can even find something for the Silent King in here. Whether or not you would, I'm not too sure, just because this is written way before any of that Necron's relaunch. But it is something that if you do have a Necron army, you can use a bunch of this in Heresy by using this book. Again, if you wanted to use your 7th edition codex or your 6th edition codex, more than welcome to use that as well. There's no reason to like spend extra money on these things. And that's why I do like the OS30K guys. If you like anything that they do, they just put it out for free because they understand that like the community is what drives Heresy. It's not, we don't, unlike 40K, we don't get as many rules updates or like points updates or anything like that. FAQs, we don't get anything like that on the level that 40K does. We have very few models that even come out in the year, to update, different styles of play. So when it comes to it, the community is what drives it. OS30K is a big one. Now, another one that I can point you to, and it's really cool if you like even like Great Crusade stuff. Like right before the Horus Heresy, they were on the Great Crusade, where the Emperor was still in action. He was fucking everybody up, with his psychic powers, with everybody, like with all his sons, they were following him. He was giving out orders, hey, take this out, I'll meet you over there. Don't even worry about it, Horus, you're a crybaby bitch, but I'm still going to back you up because I love you, whatever. Love. But that's the thing, it's like the Great Crusade is a totally different thing, and they have totally different armies. So in that, you can go to King Fluff. You can find him on Facebook. That's how I found him. Go to King Fluff, search him out. He has Great Crusade books, just like the OS30K. I believe it's another Australian gentleman, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's Australian as well. But he's just like decided, hey, I'm just going to do these rules. So what does he do? He just does different things that you'd see in the books, like John's favorite, what are they? The
Interrex.
The Interrex, yeah, the Interrex, which like are kind of, they're humans, but they've breeded with Xenos, so they're kind of Xenos looking. They have a high functioning technology, kind of like Eldar kind of stuff. They wear like, some of them are even like centaurs. Like they'll have like robot like horse legs that they like just strap into, and that's the way they walk around and shit. It's fucking cool. Like it's awesome shit. and this guy just made rules for him. He's just like, hey, again, free. Go ahead and just download the fucking files. I think those are through Dropbox. But once you have them through Dropbox, you just fucking download them to whatever else. So
there's no models for these, so you can use pretty much whatever you want, and it definitely if you're a hardcore hobbyist, like I might not be much for painting, but I love kit bashing. I love kit bashing to high hell. So like I know recently 40k Mechanicum came out with those cowboys on the horses. So I'm getting some of those just so I can make the centaurs from the Interex.
Yeah, and it's like
those horses. It's already apparent that they're the what?
Oh, I was just thinking like how you would do that. Like since they're kind of elf looking, just get some fucking Eldar bodies. You know what I mean? Get like the torsos, like hack them up, put them inside. Like don't put the head on the mechanical horse. Just put that bitch on there. Yeah. Put like a spear in their hand or something. Like fucking cool shit like that. That's what like Heresy's about. The fucking rule of cool. Like it trumps everything. You know what I mean? Like it really overrides anything in there. The rule of cool is by far rule number one. And
like Roman said, Tau, they're a very young race, unique pretty much to 40k. But if you have Tyranids, there's actually a 30k army called the Megarachnids, that people use Tyranids to play as, which is a race that got eliminated pretty much right around the time Horus split away from the Imperium. So it is it's an extinct race. And also, if you play orcs, then anybody that plays 30k will love you, because orcs have been around forever. The orcs are the eternal enemy of mankind. So you can use your 7th edition Orc Codex, and pretty much just anything that is flesh and blood, so not a vehicle, just gets a +1 toughness. That's like your rule for 30k. If you're playing your 7th edition Orc Codex, you get +1 toughness to all your actual orcs, non-vehicle orcs.
Yeah, and like I said, you can use those 7th edition codexes without any problems. You know what I mean? A lot of people are just going to be like, yeah, just go ahead and use that. It's fine. And the same thing with the Tyranids. Use the Tyranids as Megarachnids. Though, like I said, with that King Fluff guy, he actually made Megarachnids units. So you can use whatever you want. If you want to use like fucking fantasy spiders, you can go ahead and use that. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like orcs, you can get a +1 toughness. Or, like I said, there's the OS 30k guys. They have an orcs army list that you can just use. So you can use that if you want to. It's all free. If you want to get the paid one, if you want to get the physical one, I think that one's not done as of yet. They're still doing like final iterations. That's the good thing about them, is that they test out a lot of stuff. So like they have tons of like people like backing up their rules and looking at them. That's why I think OS 30k is more widely accepted by a lot of Heresy guys. Is just the fact that like they're play tested. They seem fairly balanced. Of course, there's going to be like odd ends things here, but for the most part, it's just fucking cool shit. You know what I mean? That you wouldn't get through Forge World, because let's be honest, they have no interest in making the Megarachnids. Where the fuck are they going to use them in any other system? You know what I mean? So it doesn't really suit them to do that. But guess what? Fans want to see that shit on the board. So they're going to make it, and you can kit bash it all you want. Don't know.
Where are we at minutes wise?
Oh, minutes wise, we are at about an hour and a half.
All right.
So
guess we'll start calling it here.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, like that's the cool thing. Me and John kind of did talk about this podcast and what we really want to do. We are going to focus on things that we really like. We may talk about 40k or Age of Sigmar every once and again. Age of Sigmar, I know, is having like the Broken Realms storyline with the first book Marathi coming out, which the lore for it is fucking cool. I've seen some YouTube videos on it. I do want to read it myself. Fucking, I have so many things to read, so it's not even funny. And I'm a slow reader. If you think I paint slow, I read slower. So I don't know when the fuck I'm gonna have time for that, but I do want to I do want to at least give that a shot. But we're really gonna focus on things that we like. I mean, Heresy is one of the big things, and the thing is, during quarantine, I really lost my Heresy boner went down. Like it was flaccid for months. I didn't even want to look at Heresy. I was just like, I didn't care about it. But recently I was looking at some stuff, and like I said, I wanted to stretch that kit bash muscle, and I kit bashed an Indominus pattern Terminator captain for my Dark Angels. So I'm using some. I actually used some bits just lying around. Like the main body is actually the push fit for the Dark Vengeance. All I did was just like cut off an arm. Like I sawed off an arm and did some stuff there. I used an extra Azrael sword, like sword hand. Like his whole arm is one of, not Azrael, Belial. It's his arm. The other weapon, I had to like literally like shave down one of the weapons, and like I put a Stormbolter originally. John straightened me out and said, you know, fuck a Stormbolters run around during 30k. I was like, alright. Found a fucking Volkite pistol, and I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I also found a plasma pistol, but I was like, fuck. Well, Volkite's pretty cool, and I don't have enough of Volkite. So I put that on there, and then I started putting like little iconography, because John and another buddy of ours, Mark, had told me like Mark and John are better than me at kit bashing for sure. Like they see it in a different way than I do. I kind of just put models together and just paint them. That's pretty much what I do. But with the kit bashing, I'm trying to stretch that. I'm also trying to like do what I can. Hopefully get into conversions, you know, sooner rather than later. But I was having fun with this guy. I really did have a ton of fun putting him together, and that kind of reignited my Heresy, you know, love, and looking at the book and reading the fucking fluff, and like how fucking the Lion was just a fucking maniac, and like his whole legion was just like they ran rampant on Terra before him. Like it's all insane shit. Like I love the fluff that they came up with for Dark Angels. Like it's so awesome. So like just reading the book and then doing this, like that really got my my boner going. So hopefully in the next coming weeks, I do still have some commission stuff that I have to finish up, but hopefully once that's done, I can really start digging deep into some Heresy stuff once I get some new toys for him. And what about you, John? Is there anything that you're like? It's kind of stupid, but I guess like a hobby resolution. Like I want to make a Dark Angels list. Like by the end of this year, I want to have like a fully painted Dark Angels list for sure for Heresy.
I do want to focus on the parts of my Vampire Counts army that you're not painting. But I also want to paint my Orcs and Goblins for Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working some on my 1,000 Suns for 30k, which it's not a hard base. You know, I spray paint Lead Belcher, and then I go over that with the contrast Blood Angels Red.
Mm-hmm.
Which gives you that that Hot Rod Red
Mm-hmm.
that the 1,000 Suns were known for in 30k. So that part of it is not very hard. It's just going after that and doing the detailing, you know, trimming with gold and doing all that other little things. That's kind of where I get lost. But probably, I don't know. I really want to knuckle down and get this stuff done. I am tired of bringing gray plastic and gray resin to the battlefield. So
yeah, and that's like I aim for fully painted. Like I have no problems playing with anybody that has gray plastic, whatever. I don't really care. And even stuff like for me, like I'll at least try to have it like zenithalled up, in like my colors, or like at least primed and like undercoated so it can be like used on the battlefield. And like it's a work in progress kind of thing. I have no problems with that. So hopefully once there's hopefully once I'm able to play more games, I'll be able to get with some of you that want to play Heresy in the community, because I think a lot of people that listen to this are going to be the Red Star community. Shout out to Red Star. It's, if you're interested in Heresy, I have no problems like playing a game with you. You can use your 40k army. Like I don't care. I just want you to kind of experience it, kind of get a feel for it, and if you have any questions, fucking bug me and John all day. We can answer your questions. Does not matter. But I think that's pretty much it. What would you say? That's it, John?
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good stopping point for our return.
All right. Now, I did want to address one thing. Mentioning Mark a few minutes ago. Mark A. Martinez 081 on YouTube. On our last episode, it says 9 months ago, with all the stuff that got shown at Gamma, how tight did your pants get on a scale from Jinko jeans to skinny jeans on certain models? I'll be honest, I don't remember Gamma. I don't remember what came out there. I'm not going to go back and look at it. So, shit luck on you, Mark. But hopefully you listen to this and you'll have some more questions there. Hopefully he'll fucking join us on here. I mean, Discord's not that hard to figure out. I mean,
yeah, that is another thing, guys, that I wanted to mention. I know not everybody is going to be interested in playing the games that me and Roman play, but that doesn't mean we want you to feel excluded from going ahead and taking a listen. And like we said, we're gonna be playing some other games here or there. There's still gonna be times where we play 9th edition, so we want to be having guests on the show who can come on and tell us what's going on about these game systems that we're not paying so much attention to. I very much hope that we can get David onto the show, because he's kind of like the tournament player. Like if you need any advice, if you want to know how to build your list, if you want to know how to play the field, how to move onto your objectives, what warlord traits you should be taking, what psychic powers you should be taking, what units you should be taking, David's the guy who can tell you the right way to do things to actually end up in a high placing in the tournament. And then you have Will on the other end of the spectrum, who's more like us, more fluff driven. He likes and loves the crusade aspect of 9th edition. He's kind of like the big Necromunda leader here in town. So we definitely want to have these other people onto the show to kind of explain things from their perspective.
And there's other guys like Mike Blanton that plays the Vanguard, Kings of War Vanguard. I know that you're in the group chat, but you don't really pay attention to it that much. I mean, maybe with him talking through it, that Vanguard will be something you're interested in, or at least give a try. Maybe we'll have somebody like Duncan Garcia, who plays a bunch of Kings of War, but he's getting really into Armada, and maybe pick his brain there. I mean, there's tons of people in our community of Red Star, and I suggest that you go to the Red Star Gaming. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube. Red Star actually has a YouTube channel now. They do a kind of live show where they, have different members of the community come on and talk about different stuff, different games that they're into. I'm trying to find... Yeah, it's just called Red Star Gaming. So if you look up Red, all separate words, Red Star Gaming, you're going to see, our red dice with a black background. that's going to be it. Go ahead and subscribe there. There's different things there. Somebody just put up a Marvel Crisis Protocol unboxing, so what you get in the base box. They did a Blood Bowl Season 2 unboxing. Some of our guys have done a get started on painting, making a wet palette, just different things that if you're not into the hobby already and you need some help starting up with, hopefully they can get you in and answer some questions. But I suggest, of course, because we are part of that gaming group. We love that gaming group, and I know some of the guys are going to be listening to this, so if those guys want to subscribe to us, cool. But if you're not subscribed to the Red Star Gaming, go ahead and do that. And now it comes to the awkward part of the show, where we have no fun. Okay, 10 months ago we were trying to figure out a sign off for this show. We still don't have one because me and John talk all the time. Never talked about doing the podcast until maybe a week ago. So I don't know what the fuck the sign off would be.
Just gonna awkwardly disconnect and hope you figure it out.
You son of a bitch. Alright, well, later guys. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Later guys.